The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Check this.
Fáilte daine go dtí an díal de bit le mis Brendan O'Davne an seo an sin agus an sin bhí de gaibh for an fuaca. We are down to 2. Thanks, Tressa. Tressa's always helped me out before I come up the road here. We are down to 2. It is the men of Naomh Conaill against the men of Gweedore in the senior championship, and so much else to round up this evening. Of course, all the possibilities, all the form that we've seen in a very exciting championship, particularly with the new rules. It's coming down to this, a throwback, I suppose. Still the top 4, they've made it through in the end, and a throwback to the 2023 final. What a lot has changed since then, particularly I suppose in the ranks of Gweedore when they were well beaten in that day. I can't see this final having that type of outcome. Of course, the 2018 trilogy between these two sides when Gweedore were Ulster champions, and the epic encounters, and of course Naomh Conaill coming out on the top of that game. And in the trilogy, I suppose, looking dead and buried, as they have done a couple of times this season, but they've made it back to another final. Shortly, I'm going to be joined by the dynamic duo of Brendan Kilcoyne and Pauric Hilferty here in studio. They are going to bring us through all the action. Joe Dex is here producing as ever. Later in the show, then we'll hear from the main man himself. Michael McMullan's going to wrap up about a Tyrone and Derry championship and a couple of real mouth-watering semi-finals coming up in that championship. Thanks, Katie, for the news. And of course, the main man, Ivan, with the Power Hour Plus, getting things going on a Monday evening. But as I've said, on the top, I'm joined in studio here by two men of knowledge, two of the best pundits out there. I'm just going to say that. Slash commentators, of course. You could do
well, Brendan, suppose he's coming into that commentary role as well.
Were you giving him any tips?
Not at all. He's looking for you, like, you know, the boy, the Beeb. You know, so he was telling me anyway.
The Beeb,
and Highland Radio, of course. Yeah,
yeah. You know what? It's a different world, Brendan. The commentary. I mean, fair play to you. You went seamlessly into it. I mean, Park's been doing it for years, and did Roshan obviously for years before he got a proper transfer to a good station. Sorry, I had to get the digs on. But no, Brendan, did you enjoy the commentary all right?
I did, funny enough, yeah. I enjoyed it a couple of times I've done it. It's completely different, so it is, you know, and you have to be a lot more prepared, I think. You know, you can't just stroll up for the game and join in
like kind of thing. Like you and Brendan do,
Well, so, you kind of found out, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely, There's no bluffing when you're at that, like, you know.
Oh, you're right. It is, listen, the concentration levels are way higher.
Yeah,
because sometimes when you're doing cold-com, you've got time to see everything, and you can you're almost teeing up what you're about to say. Whereas with a commentator, it's just steady, Pauric. But you listen. It's water off a duck's back for you at this stage.
Well, not like everything. You're always learning. You're always taking notes and wee hints here and there. But no, look, this year I found back doing the commentating a lot. Really enjoyable, you know. The games were end to end. Like, I mean, you've done a few and Brendan together, and you know when you're raising your pitch and there's a goal going in, and then the ball's out and there's a 2-pointer. It's a wee bit frantic, and you're just enjoying it a lot more, Brendan. That's, suppose, for me down through the years. You know, you've done it. You know, you do it.
A veteran.
Well, not. I don't mean it that way, but you just enjoyed it a lot more. But with the tactical football that was going on for years, it was very, very. It was. Let's call it as it was very boring. Like, you know, you're going left to right and you might get the ball over the bar. But now you're getting scores at half time. You're getting a full-time score this time last year. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as I say, look, again, there's more excitement back in the game. There's the 2-pointer. I think this year has been brilliant. You know, you can go up and get a goal, but someone come down and get another 2-pointer, and you know, it's exciting at junior B right up to senior. So, you know,
right
across. Ultimately, it's up to the boys on the pitch, though. If they deliver a good game, it's easy to commentate.
I get you. And what about the streaming, Bryn? It's year one. I think there's been a brilliant reaction to it.
There seems to be a great reaction.
It's great that it's died on me Highland as well, because, you know, I think for a lot of people like that type of commentary. It's still us. It's still through Highland, but then the streaming's taking up so many games, and And for me, even there was a couple of games there where I just couldn't get to, and it was brilliant.
No, it's fantastic to be able to see them games. So it is, and for a lot of people, and it seems to be getting great feedback. Anyone you speak to, I haven't heard any negative feedback from it at all as of yet. So it can only be good, and it raised the profile of Donegal football and club footballers in Donegal too, Brendan. Yeah,
100%, lads. Listen, we'll get straight into action from the weekend because we had two brilliant semi-finals, and obviously Gweedore coming through in the first one. Big talk, Pauric, about St Michael's coming into this game in terms of the season he had, and a couple of big results after that opening day defeat, and particularly I suppose a couple of weeks previous beating Naomh Conaill down there. So you really felt, is this breakthrough time? Because there were so many teams I just mentioned in the intro that seemed to be putting their hand up. You know,
I was really looking forward to that one at the weekend, Gweedore against St Michael's. I thought St Michael's, of course, they were really, really putting on big performances, and I think it was against Naomh Conaill I seen them, and I was really impressed with them this year. And I thought going into this weekend's game, I thought there's a serious chance for them to get back into a county final. They haven't been there since 2011, I think it is. But you know, it didn't materialise for them, you know, unfortunately. And like, I suppose you have to go back to what Gweedore has done. They've developed their defensive shape this year as well, and they've really curtailed that. And obviously, they're able to stick within the game. They got the goal before half time. I think the goal was a huge score going on at half time, and you know that gave them that platform in the second half. And suppose as the game petered on, the confidence moving out of St Michael's and Gweedore grew.
Definitely. You know, Brendan, just looking at them, and there's a lot being made of the semi-finals they lost, but would a part of that not be that maybe you could avoid some of the bigger teams until you get to a semi-final? Would that be the reason behind it? What I'm trying to say is, are St Michael's just that bit below what that top four often were bringing, and did we see it again maybe on Saturday?
Yeah, I think ultimately that's the problem. Like, that's 7 county semi-finals since they appeared in the final in 2011, Brendan, you know, and they've come up short on that and keep coming up short for the same reasons. And I thought going into the game, I thought the form of Michael Langan, etc., might just be enough maybe to push Gweedore the whole way, and they did push them hard, but ultimately, you know, you have to say Gweedore look like a team on a mission. They really look focused, and everything about them looks one track mind with them. Yeah, absolutely. You can see that with them, and that can be only positive for them. And their young players are blending in well. Young Stephen Donna McFadden, like when they were struggling early in the game, he was the man. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I've sort of seen him over the last number of years, and he was the man just driving through the St Michael's defence. So they seem to be very collectively together. And they're going to be, obviously, like, when you're long enough around, Brendan, as we are, kind of thing, you see Gweedore, you never discount them from any sort of predictions you're making for a championship. And ultimately, we've ended up, you know, we've had a very topsy-turvy championship with some kind of big turnovers in it and some big games in it. But ultimately, you're back to the good old faithful of Gweedore and Naomh Conaill.
Good old faithful is right. A couple of words here from Francie Friel just after the match. Francie, how does it feel there? You're back in the county final. That's what you set out at the start of the season. That's where you wanted to be, and you're here.
Yeah, that's for sure, Brendan. You know, suppose last year, you know, the game against the Unions in the semi-final, we kind of thought we left it behind us, like, and Unions went on in and won it, you know. But listen, it's a different year, you know. You're not always going to get back to that position. In fairness, the boys dug down and went back hard at it, and we're back in a final now, and we're 60 minutes away. So listen, whoever wins tomorrow's game, you know, it'll be a final, and so listen, it's 50-50 in a final. So listen, we're glad to be back in the final for sure, Brendan. Yeah,
your experience, Francie, it took you many places in terms of coaching. You were in along with Donegal the stage as well. I get a real feeling of your shape in terms of your zonal defending. How you always, it looks like you've extra men on the pitch at time. There's a real team buy-in to your defensive shape, and when you go forward in, you can see a wild calmness on the ball as well. Like, that's night after night of coaching. You can really see it throughout your team.
It is, Brendan, but listen, every team's doing the same. There's a serious amount of coaching going on now in every team, you know. And we're just listening, just for the players we have, you know, we're able to do them certain things, you know. In fairness, the boys they're buying into it, you know, and we're getting the results. I suppose that's the good thing. If you weren't getting the results, Brendan, it'd be a different ball game, you know. But we're getting the results. So listen, it's been very good. And in fairness, they're a good crowd of boys there, and they don't mind doing the hard yards.
Yeah, and Francie, just looking like the amount of players missing for Gweedore as well. I mean, we look at other teams and there might be an odd 1 or 2 injuries or different things, but you know, you've maybe 6 or 7 boys between injuries and off travelling around the world that aren't here. It's taken a big job this last 3 years to kind of, you've almost kind of turned on a new team, if you like. Well, you've unearthed a lot of new players, and you've had to cope with a lot of losses of players, which makes this run even more remarkable.
Yeah, that's for sure, Brendan. You know, posing fairness, Gweedore, that 2018 team, there's not many players left in that 2018 team. So listen, and in fairness, there's a great bit of coaching going on down in Gweedore with all underage structure and stuff, and they won back-to-back under 21s, and that's coming back and out of the senior team. A lot of them are now senior players, and they're leading it out. So listen, we're missing a lot of players, Brendan, but so what can you do? Listen, boys are away for different things. Boys are away travelling around the world, and boys injured and stuff like that. We just have to move on, and we're lucky at the minute. We have a good panel of players, and in fairness, everybody, it was the first time all year we had a free panel to pick with no injury, so that was good.
Yeah, and last. Yeah, I was just saying to Francie at the end there, of course, coach of Gweedore, about being able to watch the semi-final. Kevin Cass is in there as well.
Did he sneak in? Did he?
He's in the. Listen, I've seen it about a few games. I forgot to actually talk to him about it. He kind of came in just to add a bit. And I know he's still got that bit of charge up in the dressing room. Listen, Cass is not going to be quiet now. I'm just saying, you still need that a bit, Brendan. I know things get very tactical, and as the game moves on, it's more and less away from it. But you still need a wee charge, don't you? And there'd be nobody better than Cass to give that. So all those wee bits make up a good backroom.
Well, when you see Peter McGee and Neil McGee back in there as well, and we were just looking to see how many was missing from that 2019 game that played against Naomh Conaill. I think there's 6 or 7 missing. So there's
I kind of did a quick count. Maybe 5 or 6 of the team that started on at the weekend would have been involved in the 18, kind of thing.
Big turnover.
Yeah,
and bringing that experience in. But I think there's one man we were excited to see back in there as well, as Oran McNeilis. We're still waiting for him to start swinging that left boot of his, from distance. But
that's the same. We were just chatting off about the 2-point threat with him, that I thought that they would need to push the play in, give it to McNeely's coming outside arc and bang, but we haven't seen that.
Or O'Boyle.
Well, O'Boyle had a few. He had a few goals at the weekend. Actually, I talked to him after the match. There's loads of interviews actually up on hillradio.com, but he was saying himself he wasn't happy. Shooting was a wee bit off. But I think their striking is like that. Hits the ball so hard that sometimes it can screw you off. Because we've seen him hit ridiculous points all year. We don't think as well.
He's been phenomenal. But Ethan Harkin has really stepped up this year for Gweedore, and also Michael Rorty, a man. He scored a big score against Kilcar in the quarter final, and then suppose stepping up again. So maybe there's a little bit of pressure off Oran McNeilis and the players like that. And maybe Dara Whale is allowing those other players to come into it as well. But Ethan Harkin, I thought, has had a fantastic campaign so far for Gweedore.
Oh, he has. No, he was a bit quiet for his own standards first half, but second half he came in, did a bit. I enjoyed it. He obviously was getting a bit in the ear from his St Michael's opposite number. He was giving it back to him. He had a 2-pointer, which he's allowed to do. Tell me, Brendan, you mentioned, we're just chatting about the goal there, which was a hammer blow to St Michael's, and a lot of that, it was a brilliant finish by Miguel Avrigia, but Darragh Boyle again has upper body power, is unbelievable. He can take 2 or 3 challenges, and as he's playing the ball, he actually took 2 or 3, he fisted over the top. Miguel Avrigia was on. Now the difference I think in the St Michael's and Gweedore defence was shut tight. Gweedore's defence very, very tight, and they don't leave their zones, whereas St Michael's, you could even see it at times, they will go after the ball a small bit, leave themselves a wee bit open. There was definitely goals coming in that game, and that Miguel Avrigia one just in the stroke of half time was a massive blow. Huge
blow for St Michael's, because they'd actually done alright up to that. They were 5 points ahead, and kind of, I think, and you're right about O'Boyle, he's a serious athlete. He's so powerful running and so strong on the ball that he's very hard to dispossess. And I just think that the goal maybe sucked the life out of them. Now, they did come out in the second half and they showed a bit of a response, which always felt Gweedore had that bit more about them and that they were going to come strong towards the end, and that's the way it proved, Brendan,
Yeah, and listen, Cian Kelly had a couple of goal chances in it, and they would have given Michaels a massive lifeline. I think it could have got very close. There was just something in my heart that said Gweedore can step it up a wee bit here. They just looked a wee bit more able to control the game. Do you know what I mean? They had too many players, as you mentioned there, that were good on the ball, and in that final quarter then they ended up outscoring Michael 6-1, which kind of was where they pushed home the advantage,
especially in O'Donnell Park as well. They know that pitch so well. And there's one player that we mentioned there, Miguel Avrigia, about the goal he got in just before half time, but he built that platform going forward, having the runners as well. Gweedore have really upped that particular running threat that they've had, and it's causing problems. But you're right in that, Brendan. Suppose it was a game where you felt, look, it's going to take a goal or two for St Michael's really to try and go for this victory here. Disappointing for them, But Gweedore, look, just doing what Gweedore has done, they seem to have the pep in the step once again, and closing out games is something they've done down through the years, and they've got that experience of doing that.
Yeah, so for Gweedore, unbeaten,
Mm-hmm.
final 2 years ago, they weren't really on it. Last year, semi-final, Eunice just squeezed past them. Darragh Boyle, a late chance to equalise, remember?
That's right.
So, I was just saying in the intro, that Gweedore team got in the final. I thought they didn't have a chance, and Naomh Conaill completely outplayed them, and Naomh Conaill actually went for them. Do you remember?
Yes, yeah.
They didn't play their normal game.
Yeah.
They went after them because
Came
they
out of
know
themselves, yeah.
we're going to be too good for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some change now when you look at it. In fairness to McNeilish and we talked about players away and different things, they've really moulded a very strong team there again.
They have, and that just shows you, that you stick with your manager for a few years, let them build and build, develop the trust between the management and the players, and that's what they've done. Like there was obviously big hurt after that semi-final last year because they keep referring to it, Brendan, against St. Eunan's, and any interview you hear about them, that's their kind of ball mark. So it is of, we want to get back from where we were there, and they certainly have gone about it the right way this year. So they have, and they look a real detail, and you look at what they can bring in, like Niall Friel coming home from Dubai, we're speaking about him off here. You look at Aidan Brannock, I thought he's been a fantastic player for them for the last number of years, just came in, they were able to bring him in. And then you have the two young lads, Jordy Gribben and Cathal Rua, who had huge campaigns for Donegal under-20s earlier in the year. Didn't get game time at all yesterday. Peter McGee played midfield for them the whole way through the championship. So it shows you they have strength and depth, but it also shows you that they're a team that's on a mission, that are training well together, that the management, they've all bought into the management down there, so they have, and it's all systems go kind of thing for them to get that Dr. Maguire back down to Gweedore, and that's so obvious from the soundings that are coming out from them.
Yeah, and the man that they have to beat is the man of St. Michael's. Gweedore references that, how much the guys is getting on together as a team. You can see that on the pitch, but they're up against, I'd say at this point, when we look at it all in Pauric, this is the best two sides in Donegal they've ended up in the final. And if, let's say for example, that had been Michael's Four Masters and it was Gweedore and Naomh Conaill, I think, like, no offence to it, but I think that this is probably the final pairing that would maybe, like, they're the best two squads, I think, in the championship.
They are, absolutely. Look, and I suppose we're still seasoned down Tyrone, like we had a chance of knocking them out there in the quarter final. But look, you just have to look at, I was up in Naomh Conaill, I think it was against Ardra, and Ardra almost beat them that particular day, and Brad was doing the video work that day, and we were just chatting about a couple of years ago they weren't going well, and they came back and they got into the final, and they won the final. I think it was 2016, 2017, and around that particular period, and you were just looking at them. They weren't any of the games I was covering, like St. Michael's beat them up there, Ardra nearly beat them up in Naomh Conaill, and you're scratching your head going, what's going on here? But they've been dogged, and the victory yesterday specifically, I know in the last it was extra time, the second half, they dominated that, but they had to dig out that performance as well. They had to dig it out against Tyrone. Look, and I suppose the one against Killybegs fairly, the little bit despair, but it is, as the old saying goes, Brendan, it is a sign of a good team, when you're going bad and you can dig out those results. And suppose our expectations of Naomh Conaill is so high, but Kevin McGettigan getting that goal yesterday when they were against the grain as well. What a goal to get at such a crucial time. Yeah,
and Brendan, so much in this game, and I want to ask you about that goal, because I'm wondering, is it because Four Masters go after the ball? They do have different style to a lot of other teams that's up there. But before that, when you mentioned it yesterday, I was listening to your summing up, around the 15 wides and indiscretions and that, and the ability that's in this Four Masters team. So how much of that now, because it's been a strange season for Naomh Conaill in terms of what we're used to with Naomh Conaill. They're usually like a machine, so they've been a bit up and down. So in your heart yesterday, was this a one that Four Masters left behind them, or did you always think a wee bit like Gweedore that Naomh Conaill weren't going to go away?
I think Four Masters are going to have huge regrets, Brendan, and listen, we all know they're a young side, they're obviously going to be around for a good few years, but like they give, was it 5 or 6 points to give away with indiscretions? Like, I thought Lewis McGahan was, harshly adjudged to have taken too long over a kick out. 1 point. A couple other instances then where they kind of argued a free and it was brought forward at the top of the day. Shame alone punished them accordingly, kind of thing. So from that perspective, they'll take a lot of learning from it.
It's unusual that though, Brendan. We're not seeing too much of that. I mean, sometimes you nearly forget about outside of, say, tap and go and obviously the 11 the normal stuff, the 2-pointer. Some of them you nearly forget they're there because teams have got very wise to it. So for Master to concede 6,
huge learnings for
6.
them, Brendan. And listen, they were very good. They played some really good football, and what I liked about them, they were brave. Yes, they kicked 15 wides, but they were prepared to take on the chances. Now, listen, when you sit down and you analyse it, and their coaches sit down and analyse it, they're going to, wonder, listen, lads, we need to work a better position here, or not just snap at these kind of shots. But there's so much positive. Young Turlock Carr playing at 11.
2 cars, 10 points.
Senham was brilliant inside in the corner too. Now, Conor McCahill, he's goal scorer, huge threat inside. Ulton Doherty, he's a fantastic marker. He's totally underrated. You don't see him on the ball. You don't see no flash from him. He just does his job, shuts his man down. But the 2 cars were brilliant. Kevin Muldoon, fantastic too, so he was. And, Callum McRae then at half-back. Alex McCalmont was very good for them inside, but seemed to be, whatever way Naomh Conaill set up, Alex McCalmont seemed to be in acres of space every time, so he did. He just looking out in the pitch, you could see he was 20-30 yards away from no one. And he punished them accordingly. He punished Naomh Conaill accordingly, kicking 4 points. So, I think they'll take a lot out of it. They were very good, so they had a good run in the championship. They're just not ready yet, so they're not. And them the learnings that they'll take from yesterday should help them an awful lot. But looking at Naomh Conaill, they're just a machine. Yeah. They are a machine.
Yeah. And see the goal that scored, Brendan, as I said to you, what? Because I know you're obviously covering the game. What was your, I admire the way Four Masters go after teams, because it actually creates a lot of excitement in the game as well. And I think as the game evolves, that's the way teams that do well are going to play. Yeah. Because you need to go after the ball. You need to get turnover ball before you're in the zonal. I think we're kind of holding on to the old rules with the zonal now. Don't get me wrong, you're always going to go about zonal in the match, you know what I mean, during the games at different points and that. But I think if your thing is drop straight back in and wait, then I think you're inviting yourselves on, particularly as teams get better at picking you apart.
So when you've got serious runners coming, and I think we seen it against Kilcar and Gweedore, when they were putting runners into that zonal, it caused a little bit of havoc and took Gweedore a wee minute or so. They got stifled. They could have 3 goals at that stage, That's right. But I think you're right, Bren. I think that those runs coming from the half back line, half forward line, and we look at Naomh Conaill and we're on about that, and you look at Max Campbell coming, you've Finbar Rorty coming, you've Kieran Gallagher and a young gentleman called Anthony Thompson coming, popping up as well. So it's from that point of view, from the way the new rules have really impacted this year's championship. It probably is. It's going to work on those zonal defences, thankfully.
Yeah.
And just on the goal, Brendan, Four Masters were after hitting 3 points on the bounce to go 3 ahead, 8 minutes into the first half of extra time, looking pomp, looking really at it kind of thing, as if they were going to go on. Yeah. Steve McGrath puts the ball down. Now, I had literally hadn't the score written, and the ball was in the air in the middle of the field. Kieran Gallagher dropped down to Kevin McGettigan.
What a season he's having.
He's brilliant. He turns up. He did the same the day we were down. We did a game down in our drag against Killybegs, wasn't it? He sauntered through back of the net. He's such a quality football.
Option for the county.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he was in with the county squad this year,
But did he actually get?
He didn't get much game time now. He was in extended squad.
He looks like he's
a big lad.
Just a smart player. Turns up at the right place, and the coolness and of sticking the ball past Lewis McGahan was just brilliant. And goal went in, then it was Brendan McDyer, Shea Malone, and suddenly game was out of Four Masters' hands, and they battled bravely. And but you just I want to compare this Naomh Conaill team to last year, Brendan, for example. Ulton Doherty wasn't available last year, Max Campbell wasn't available last year, Shea Malone wasn't available last year, and the big one for me is Kieran Gallagher in the middle of the field. He started off that game yesterday as if he was going to take on the world, won the throw and drove straight down through the line. Okay, he lost it, but he continued, and he gives them that big man option in the middle of the field, and he looks fit, he looks focused, he looks like a real player, this guy. So we know he's a good player, but he looks really tuned into it this year.
Yeah, a lot of players back from Naomh Conaill, you're right. And listen, this is a hard game to call. I'm just quick prediction then on the final, lads. Who you can put your hat on?
Don't know. I'll go Brendan. You go first.
I think it is very hard, difficult to call. Obviously, 2 very good teams in the final. I just think Naomh Conaill will get over the line, and they'll do it by a point or 2 again, kind of thing, because that's what they do. They just do enough to get over the line.
What do you reckon?
I think there's this thing on this Gweedore side. I really do. I think I think Naomh Conaill, they didn't perform in the quarter final, they didn't perform in the semi final. Okay, they got out. and Martin Regan mentioned it yesterday. There's going to be no doubt about it. It's going to be a massive game. It's going to be a point or two either side. But I think something's telling me Gweedore this year.
There you go, boys. That's the two experts now. No expert now. Listen, Pauric, you're heading over to the press.
Who do you think now?
I honestly have a slight sneak for Gweedore, yeah. So, but the new Colin boys will love me saying that. But, no, I just think having watched them this year, but again, Pauric, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw. It's one of them games. Even if we have a slight hunch, it really means none, because it's going to come down the wire. And if a team should go in the lead, either team will sit back and they will invite the other team on them. So we're never going to have a time where someone cruises through it. It won't be like a couple of years ago. I suppose that's what I was saying from the top. Pauric, you're heading over a bit of a presser. Of course, we've the intermediate final coming up at the weekend. Naomh and McMullan, two teams have been knocking on the door the last few years. That should be a cracker coming up next week.
The press conference is going to be quite busy tonight. We've got the senior, obviously, and the intermediate and the junior. I suppose Naomh Conaill and McMullan are in the intermediate final, and suppose Naomh Conaill been knocking on the door for quite some time. They were there last year, didn't really perform against Tyrone, and suppose they'll be looking to make up for that one. But I suppose when you look at McMullan are back in there. They're looking to get back into the senior championship. They played Division 1 this year, and I suppose they didn't really focus on the league. They focused on getting out of the intermediate championship, and it can be very, very tough in that intermediate championship. I suppose Gweedore came in, I suppose, was one of the favourites that game down at the Burn Road, and McMullan turned them over. Big victory for them there. So it was definitely a game where they showed their pedigree. They had to go to the well, and they did, scoring 3 goals that particular day as well. But look, as I say, Naomh Conaill, they've been primed now his last number of years to come out of intermediate, and suppose Brendan, intermediate championship, it's exciting.
Look what Tyrone have done, though. But you got to say it's great for the intermediate. What actually Tyrone have done this year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of, coming forward, there was a couple of crackers in the juniors as well. Letterkenny Gales, what about Geneve Breed? 5-14 to 2-19 coming through after extra time. And of course, Cairndonagh, last year's beaten finalists, they accounted for St Mary's Convoy, who were having a great season themselves. So Cairndonagh, Letterkenny Gales, that'll be another great final.
It'll be a cracker. And suppose they've played each other in the group stages as well. Cairndonagh finishing ahead of Letterkenny Gales, but I was at the St Mary's Convoy and Cairn game at the weekend, and suppose myself and Paul McGonigal was doing it, and we were just writing the obituary for Convoy, and they were 9 points down at one stage, but they showed serious grit and determination, and they they had two pointer opportunities towards the end of the game. It didn't materialise for them, but they rallied, and the momentum was in their way, but the likes of Conor O'Donnell and co really kicked in. Cian Doherty kicked 6 points, in the first opening half. They had a bit of a breeze down in Burt, nothing. I suppose it was aiding Cairn in the first half, and then it aided Convoy in the second half, I suppose. But Cairndonagh, they just got through, just barely, Brendan, in the game. They were in big, they were big favourites for that game. Yeah. But fair play to Lawrence McMullan, special word to Lawrence. He was playing and managing, at the same time. So
they were well beaten in last year's final, actually. I remember well against Naomh Patrick again. So they'll be keen to make up for lost time. Brendan, you were at the relegation playoff. I got a shock when I seen the result coming through, and we were doing covering it as well. I mean, this was a game very hard to call. There's no way you would have put so for Aru to won so convincingly. What happened?
Yeah, listen, you have to say St Naul's were poor, Brendan, and I don't mean I need to go hard on any team, but they were poor. No, that's it. Listen, they were 3 points up or behind at half time, 1-9 to 1-6. I think Aru came out in the second half and outscored them 1-8 to 2 points, kind of thing. And I think there's talk that Brendan McCole might have been carrying an injury. Padder Morgan was very good, and Mulroney picked up a couple of knocks, kicked a couple of big frees, but they're carrying a couple of injuries. Stuart Johnson wasn't available to them. He'd be one of their marquee forwards, kind of thing, and they were missing a couple of other players. So they have problems. So I don't think a year back down in intermediate will do.
Division 3 as well, they're in it.
St Naul's. Yeah, there's like the struggle. They won 3 games all year in Division 2 of the league. So that's indicative of where they are. Now, obviously, they're without the 3 lads from the county, and that's difficult. And it's probably hurting them an awful lot not having them available throughout the year. Just coming in, and then you have to kind of readjust come championship and all that. But to be fair to Aru, Ballyshannon, they were very good in the night and fully deserved it, and Big Matt Gillespie in the middle of the field had a huge game for them, absolutely superb game, as had Shane Dillon at wing back, and came out deserving winners on the evening, and they'll be back senior again next year. But they've got their own problems down there too. You know, they're not at the levels they want to be, and you know, you have to think only a couple of years ago, I think they topped the group stage after winning their 4 games.
Right.
So, you know, to go from there to winning no games, did a good run in Division 2 in the league. They finished only second behind Dunlow in Division 2 of the league. So, you know, there's something there.
They're building, yeah.
There's something there, but they're disappointing group stages in the championship.
Yeah, certainly. My wee buddy Roper involved there.
He is, yeah.
Would say. And tell me, the woes of Cloughanilly have finally stopped. Where it was almost back-to-back relegations, you know, and I know it's been a tough time for everybody down there, but they at least steered clear of a drop to junior football, beating the Rossa.
Aye, good. And as I say, you know, down through the years that have a great tradition in Cloughanilly, and as I say, 117 to 7 points against the Rossa. And suppose again, emigration has played a big part in this, losing Jason McGee as well.
Sure.
Suppose, you know, massive player for them to lose, but you know, it's good to see them staying up, and hopefully they get a couple of players back next year. And you know, Cloughanilly, they have a great tradition, and they'll be back, and hopefully they get a number of their players back, you know, as well.
Yeah, it could be like that, Brendan, when things start to go against you and you lose players. And
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
You think
like,
about them, and remember the Dunlow a couple of seasons ago, and then we had Dunlow in the county final last year, and we're saying, look at how the difference from two teams that were evenly matched.
and they're been powered by young lads like young Cathal McGeever, so he plays around Middle Park, big tall player, very skillful player, and young Donahoe Boyle. You know, they're and these guys are only 19, 20, and they're the kind of main players for them now because of the amount of, you know, serious senior players that they've lost over the last while. So for them to pull that out of the bag, I'd say would be a huge relief for them, because they wouldn't, you know, going 2 consecutive relegations would be a fair, huge blow. Like,
Be tough. Listen, thanks so much for the wrap up. I don't want to keep you late, Pauric, because Oisín Kelly has demanded you over there, and I don't want to fall out with Oisín. He's on his times, and I'm always late. And, so don't you be late. Don't you be late. You head on. That was Pauric Hilferty and Brendan Kilcoyne, lads. Thanks so much for the wrap up. After the break, I'm going to be speaking with Michael McMullan of the Gaelic Life as we look across the Derry and Tyrone Championships.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
A public service announcement from Donegal County Council. Why not visit the Working Over By exhibition currently on display at the County Museum, High Road, Letterkenny. Come along and see photographs of Donegal men and women at work in Scotland between 1940 and 1990. Hear first-hand accounts of their experiences. Pick up a copy of the free 100-page exhibition booklet and get a glimpse of objects associated with Donegal people's working lives in Scotland. There are opportunities to become part of the exhibition too, so why not contribute to the Donegal Scotland Legacy Wall? You'll recognise some well-known faces, and you may even see friends and family whose stories are being told. The Working Over By exhibition is a partnership between the Cultural Division of Donegal County Council and the Mellon Centre for Migration Studies, and admission is free. Donegal County Council, preserving the heritage of Donegal in partnership with the Heritage Council.
Poor Sandra. She's bedbound, burning up, wishing she'd gone to Boots. Her throat's sore, head's pounding, and on top of all that, now she's worried she's missing out. Because judging from the group chat, she's just missed a great night with friends. Make the most of this winter and help protect yourself and the people around you. Get your winter flu and COVID-19 vaccinations at Boots. Book yours in-store or at boots.ie/flu. Boots. With you for life. Eligibility criteria apply. Charges may apply subject to availability.
Electric Ireland Superhomes can help you achieve a cosier, healthier and more energy efficient home, and one with less carbon emissions. They look after your home's retrofit from start to finish, including management of SEAI grants. Visit electricirelandsuperhomes.ie and start your journey to a superhome today. Grants offered are provided by the Government of Ireland through the SEAI.
Earn as you go with our PTSB Explore current account. Earn up to €5 cashback a month as you pay with your card, and up to 5% cashback when you pay bills with our partners. For a banking experience that means more for you, apply in-app and start earning today. PTSB. Altogether more human. Qualifying criteria, terms and conditions apply. 5 cent back on card purchases up to €5 per month. Bills paid by direct debit required. Account partners and benefits are subject to change. €8 monthly maintenance fee applies. Other charges may apply. Over 18 personal customers only. E-statements only. Permanent TSB PLC trading as PTSB is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
In Ireland, it can be hard to get enough vitamin D from the sun. But did you know that 90% of us also don't get enough vitamin D from the food we eat? Avonmore Supermilk is packed with goodness and fortified with vitamin D, which helps absorb calcium for healthy bones, so you can be at your best. We can't make the sun shine, but we can help you shine. Avonmore Supermilk, a super source of calcium and vitamin D. Figures based on 2023 FSAI report.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, folks, welcome back. Michael McMullan is on the line. Michael, how are you, sir? Not coming through to me yet. Is your mic all right your side there? To give her a wee check there, Malboy. You have a nice wee headset. There you are now. There you are now. You all right?
Not too bad. How's things with yourself?
I was your fancy new headphones was causing a problem.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You're all right.
Sometimes you better go back to basics, Brendan.
Back to basics. Now we're talking. Mal, listen, I was talking to you the last few weeks about coming on, and there was just so much happening in Donegal. I was mad to get a wee update for you, and then looking across, I says, listen, could you come on? And listen, Mal, you're obviously a good friend of Highland here in Donegal GA. And just looking at these semi-finals, Mal, I mean, straight away, like the Derry Championship, both, but getting into the Derry one first, I mean, just unbelievable. I mean, Glen, Mara, Felslaw, Neil against Newbridge. I mean, mouth-watering stuff there, Mal and Derry. 4 top teams in the semis.
Yeah, Brendan, and it's long overdue because it's been it's been underwhelming, to be honest. Before we get into the semi-finals, I think 16 teams is too many, Brendan. I think we should go the Monaghan route with 10 teams. It's the same 4 teams 3 years in a row, and it tells you that there's definitely a gap. But those 4 teams, you're right, they're there for a reason. Newbridge are champions. Glen have won in All Ireland. Magherafelt they won the title in 19, they lost in 20, and Slaughtneil at the end of the day, they've got a very proud record in Ulster, albeit they haven't won the Bacon since 2020. So that's the way it is so far. But as I say, the unfortunate thing is it's only really getting going now. That's the disappointment.
And we were talking about this at the get go. Well, Donegal's changed quite a bit. There's a lot of teams can beat other teams, and the top 4 thing, even though the 2 that's in the final has what you would call the traditional top 4, but certainly big ones for Glen and Magherafelt, and that's telling you about that distance. I know Newbridge got a bit tighter against Steelstown, and Slaughtneil really had too much for Lavey, but there was a couple of big scorelines put up there that's saying that the competitiveness of some of the teams isn't up to the standard.
Before a ball was kicked on Sunday, Brendan, now the Sunday games, I would have to say, were excellent. But before Sunday, there was 22 senior games, and the average one in Marsden was 8.4 points. Right. It's just not entertaining. Yeah. But the 2 semi-finals on Saturday, Brendan, Magherafelt were so convincing against Blahy, and Glen sort of, as I says to Ray Kavanagh, you got into the final without really, raising any eyebrows as such. And then Sunday, Lavey and Slaughtneil and Steelstown and Newbridge were absolutely class. Brilliant championship games. And it was funny, I was listening to you boys talking before I jumped on the call, and it seems to be your big 4 is now gone. It's, the likes of 4 Masters are poking their head in there, and it's I know we're talking about Derry now, but it seems to have went the other way, whereas Derry have a big 4.
But Mal, see, tactically, and we're just chatting about 4 Masters, like most of the teams are still playing zonal, dropping in, trying to do with 11 what they did with 12. 4 Masters, one of those teams that actually go after the ball a bit in that. What are you seeing in Derry generally? Are teams all playing to a certain rhythm, or are the teams going after teams even at different points of the game? Before they're desperately now needing would they just tactically go after teams sometimes and go after the ball?
It's like, for example, Blahy just sat off Magherafelt, and Magherafelt, I think they had a brand new goalkeeper, and he won all but 1 kick out, and they were able to use the ball. They were probably a wee bit like Donegal when they were allowed to go, when Patton was allowed to go short. They always got a shot away. So that's Magherafelt's story. And then Lavey, they come with a different sort of attitude with, Shea Murn, Brent McGuire, the Donegal people will know those two men. They just put a big bank of 6 men across the middle, and Slaney will struggle to get it out. So there is a contrast. But again, we had to wait really until the weekend before we saw exactly what people had. But the 4 that's left, you can make a case for any of them to win it.
Yeah.
You definitely could. It wouldn't be a surprise if anybody won it. There's no out and out favourite.
Yeah. I just heard your interview with Cam. There's some great interviews on there on HighlandRadio.com. I'll covering it there. But you were just referencing the fact that few injuries for Glen. They're getting up to clean bill of health, which could have a good impact for them come this semi.
Yeah, and you obviously know Rory a lot better than I do, but he seems to be the sort of manager where if there's somebody's got a knock, you don't play. And then obviously now this is go time. There is no tomorrow, so he's got them all ready. I think Cathal Mulholland is out of the country, but apart from that, you're right, he's getting everybody back. Michael Warnock hasn't played. He was togged out though, and there's somebody else didn't play. Yeah, Kieran McFall. So with Ethan Doherty, Jack Doherty, I hope Kieran Mina can get Jack Doherty on board with Derry. They're starting to sort of come at the right time, Glenn, and obviously, if you're an All-Ireland champion in the last couple of years, that tells its own story. But that'll be put it this way, Brenton. Maher felt I'll not be able to get the kick out so way as handy against Glen. I just know that's the way it's going to be. And you've got a midfield of Conor Glass, Emmett Bradley. You've loads of energy, so Maher felt might have to think differently. And Enda Muldoon did say that they focused a lot on Blahy. Blahy have an exceptionally good keeper in Peter Stewart, and they decommissioned him just with getting men in the right places. So whereas the semi-final is going to be different.
Tell me, and just on, you mentioned Mina there, is it important for Derry? Well, obviously there's been that bit of turmoil in there, a couple of tough seasons. Is it important now the club championship hits that bit of fire now, and that we see the best of these players, county players and potential county players, to kind of give Mina a bit of a lift coming into the new season? Do you think there's a big role in this club championship and these 4 last remaining teams to really push that on?
Yeah, there has been. I think the most important thing, and you probably nailed it there, Brenton, getting the manager in early. I know that's an overused statement I've made oftentimes, but whereas last year was a complete and utter car crash, Paddy Talley didn't stand a chance coming in as late as he did. He didn't really get a fair crack at it. Whereas now, and Kieran Mina, don't forget, he's worked in the county virtually his whole life as a teacher, and he was heavily involved under Rory Gallagher, and before that with Damien McErlean, and an exceptionally thorough man. And between him and Chrissy McCaig and apparently Benny Hearns in his management team, and he would have played in the championship himself. So the boys would have saw a lot of what's happening, and I've saw them at quite a few games, and you would imagine that they're starting to get their ducks in a row for at whatever stage they get the green light. Yeah, certainly. We're really looking forward to these games. Mal, when are they to be played, Mal, the Derry semis? 2 weeks' time. So they're taking the break. Yeah, they're taking the break. The way it works in Derry, and it's actually it's really good for dual clubs because it's football 1 week, hurling the next. But from the point of view of the media and promoting the games, it leaves you a weekend where you might have 4 games of hurling, and then the following weekend you have 12 games of football, and it's a real cramming session. So it's just a wee bit lopsided. But here, Brenton, the players have to come first, and it's whatever way you work it around those. So it leaves it difficult with Derry that so many dual players. Yeah. And well, listen, coming into the Tyrone Championship, of course, Lough McCrory beating Donaghmoyne, Eden Dork were defeated by Carrickmore. They're the first semi-final pair. There's something about the likes of Carrickmore, you just always expect something from them. Aren't they one of those clubs where you think they can beat anyone? No, they haven't done well the last number of years, but you think there's something always going to be brewing with Carrickmore. Of course, Lough McCrory, a lot of work, a lot of coaching going on there, trying to knock on the door as well of what is this enthralling Tyrone Championship. Yeah, Carrickmore, Brendan, you hit the nail on the head. They sort of have that tradition and of they're one of the few teams to have retained the title, and we all know how difficult that is. But I was actually talking to Luke Barrett and Marty Boyle, the Derry Marty Boyle, who's managing Lough McCrory, and Luke's in coaching them, and he was up at Owenbeg with Marty, and they made the point that Lough McCrory and Carrickmore are in the same parish, and they rocked up one day for a league game, and I don't know if they exaggerated this or not, but they thought there was 3,000 people at it, packed, absolutely packed for a league game. I don't know what this championship game is going to be like, Brenton. Maybe the likes of TG Cahir may get their hands on it or something. I don't know, because like we all know how fanatical Tyrone people are about their football in general before you even talk about trying to win stuff. So,
but Mal, what about the county then? Because like that there, I'm hearing, I was chatting to Ian McGinley, who's on about as before pre-championship, some of those last league games, there's big crowds at them and that. It doesn't seem to be representing itself with the county team as much.
And that, Brendan, that's like, you know the story yourself. That's turned on its head completely, because usually if you went to a Tyrone game, you're always outnumbered. I don't know whether there's maybe like a wee bit of a disconnect just with, club versus county, or maybe, I don't know. I'm not a Tyrone man. Maybe it's wrong to say this. Maybe there was just a luxury of an expectation of always winning, Sam, and always being in finals. Whereas,
well, I suppose when you look at it, Mal, the way
you see the friends in Donegal this past couple of years, where people are like, they would have sold their granny to get a ticket, sort of thing. So,
and the Kerry analogy of not turning up really sometimes until the final. I suppose like people maybe, and the sheer success of Tyrone at all ages, everywhere, even their masters, every competition, it seems to be them. And it's strange just at the minute there seems to be that kind of weirdness around their county. But Mal, the other game, I mean, Errigal, Kieran, Trillick, I mean, I don't know anybody in Ulster that won't want to see this football match. I mean, this is another enthralling encounter of these two top teams.
Okay, like I go back to Trillick and Scottstown a few years ago. It was the year Glen won Ulster, and Trillick were brilliant that day. It was a fantastic game, and I believe they left an Ulster behind them. I know the Glen people may think we might have beat Trillick, but maybe they would have, Brendan. But that's the level they're at now. Richie Donnelly or Matty Donnelly didn't play the last day, and there's a guy, Daniel Donnelly. He's a sort of a marker. He did a really good job on Conor McCarthy. I'm not sure, obviously not as well versed in Tyrone, but I'm not sure if those guys will be back now. But they're obviously three really important players. Lee Brennan scored 7 points to get Pomeroy. But Brenton, the width of a crossbar kept Trillick in the championship. Brenton Burns, who had already got a goal, it literally hit the crossbar in the last play. It goes in, it slides out for Trillick. And Pomeroy, who were trying to scramble, you were chatting there about St. All's and teams in relegation. That's where Pomeroy are battling for relegation, and they could have put Trillick out. That's the fine line. But here they're in the hat. They managed past it, and if they can get those three men back, not sure the lay of the land. Errigal will know what they're up against. From Errigal's point of view, I remember chatting to Peter McCartan at the Gaelic Life All Stars do last year. It was one of those 2 o'clock in the morning conversations, but it was actually quite sensible, I would have to say. But I remember him saying he was going to America, and I got the impression a lot of the older guys it was the last dance. But I'm looking at Kieran McGinley. I think he's his cousin. Like, he's 37. He was playing thirds football. He's still going strong. So they seem to have everybody back that I can see. I just took a glance at the team list before I jumped on here, Brenton. So they've won the title. They're the other team along with Carrickmore that have got a history of retaining it. And here, if they had lifted a leg in the first half, they could have won All Ireland. So that's the quality that's there. So you would maybe be better keeping your Holy Communion money in your pocket, Brendan, for these two games. How do you predict them? And hopefully, and the only thing I will say is it's an impossible situation for somebody like ourselves who would follow a lot of football. It's just a pity the likes of Donegal, Tyrone and Derry games are always on the same weekend. And knowing that, I know we can't try and separate club championships to suit, but it's just a really busy, and especially now in the semi-final weekends, like they're cracking weekends. It's just a pity they're all on at the same time. But here we can look over each other's walls a few times if there's a big game coming up.
Yeah, and Mel, do you think that we talk about Tyrone and how difficult it is to win again, but the fact that Errigal are Ulster champions, the fact that you said the All Ireland final, particularly second half, that there is some amount of experience that's got from that, in terms of never say die and ability, and when they get it forward, they've got some razor sharp people in terms of taking you apart. So have they benefited, do you think, from last year? Do they look now a much more confident kind of group that said, right, we're going to size up Trillick, but you know, both teams are going to possession first, get their defences in shape, but you'd think the holes could be punched more from the Errigal side.
I don't know. Then would Errigal learn a lesson from the All Ireland final, where they actually? Well, I suppose they were forced to throw the shackles off that day because they were leaking water and went for it. So, as I say, I've only been following them by highlights. I haven't been at any of the games, to be honest with you. But I do know that with having everybody back tells me they're going at it again. I did hear a whimper in the camp during the league that all things weren't ticking. But I suppose when you take the amount of key players that have been missing, it's very difficult to really make a case for them. But like when you think back, like the width of a crossbar kept Trillick in the championship. I remember last year's Ulster Club final. I met a guy from Errigal on the pitch, and I was congratulating him, and he says, "It's deadly." He says, "We were nearly beaten by Clonogh, and Clonogh got relegated." So I think that's the beauty of the Tyrone Championship. There's a lot of teams are quite similar on the day, and I think that's what a lot of our counties lack. But your question about Errigal, they're champions. There has to be a real desire, not just to win the championship, to back it up. You know, that would really that I know it's a cliche, but that would make you a great team in Tyrone if you can back it up, because history tells you, no matter what anything else is said, history tells you it's a nearly impossible task.
Yep, that's what Enda McGinley has to do, our buddy Enda. I'm sure we'll get him on for a chat at some stage. Mal, as ever, thanks so much for taking the time out this evening, giving us that wrap up of Derry and the Tyrone Championship. I'll be speaking to you later as it unfolds.
No problem, Brendan. All the best.
Top man there, Michael McMullan of Gaelic Life, of course. And you hear a lot of Mal's interviews up on highlandradio.com from all the action from the weekend. That's all from the show this evening, folks. Thanks as ever for tuning in, and thanks Joe Dex for producing. Stay tuned for the excellent Monday night sessions coming up, and next week Oisín will be chairing the DL debate, because I'm out of here. Time to get a wee suntan.